dealing with advanced civilizations. We're dealing with advanced technology. We're dealing with advanced wisdom and understanding. Like I was talking about yesterday, the fact that these gods, some of them masqueraded as gods, as you can see, would be very easy. If you had the capability of doing something like this and knowing all this information thousands of years ago, and you went into a civilization that's obviously less advanced, they're going to deify you. They're going to make you into a god. We do it all the time. There's a place called Bikini Atoll in the South Pacific, and we went there to do nuclear testing, unfortunately. But in the process of setting up the nuclear test, we began to send military troops, and they had never seen any outsiders, never. They saw airplanes, they saw tanks, they saw boats pulling up on the shore, and they automatically thought these had to be gods. And then we started giving them things. We started giving them food, cans of Spam, all this kind of stuff. And they started thinking these were gifts from the gods, instantly, okay? After we left, what'd they do? They started building airplanes out of tree reeds and branches, building AK-47 guns out of branches and trees. They even tattooed USA on their chest. It's called a cargo cult, and it happens no matter where you go in this universe when you have that situation. That's why there's a prime directive that's talked about in a lot of science fiction movies, but I believe that prime directive is a real thing. The prime directive of an advanced civilization interacting is forbidden to interact with a less advanced civilization. The Anunnaki violated their prime directive when they came to Earth and began to mine this planet for resources. They did it for about 250,000 years without interfering with the existing hominid on this planet. But at that point, according to the Enuma Elish, there was going to be a war break out between the Ijiji and the higher class Anunnaki because they were just tired of the workload. And because of that, the only way to stop the war was to come up with a solution on how to end this workload. Now, the workload had to continue because they're obviously a capitalistic type of society, because that's what they installed here on this planet. They needed those resources. They were probably earning some type of whatever equivalent of what we would call revenue off of these resources they were mining. They weren't just mining gold. They were mining resources all over this entire planet. So to prevent this war, this coup that was happening, they came up with the solution was to genetically modify the existing hominid and make that hominid into a worker slave. Now, they didn't just snap a finger and it happened. It didn't work that way. They began first initially with cloning. They tried cloning some of these hominids, and they had some problems with reproduction issues. Some couldn't even reproduce at all. Tumors, sicknesses, illnesses, early death, premature death. And they realized that was just too much work. And it's too hard to keep up. They were losing in production, not gaining. So the next thing that happened was they decided to see, well, if we genetically modify the human that's here in a way that we can take it to full term and give birth, we might be able to get a successful Homo sapien. That's when Homo sapien came into view. 200,000 years ago, it's all we've been here. Us, this Homo sapien sapien. 200,000 years. We're the new kids on the block. We're definitely not even close to being the one-all, be-all. We're brand spanking new, because in geological time frames, 200,000 years is a blink of an eye, literally a blink of, probably even less than a blink of an eye, okay? We're just like, boom, we're here. And so what happened was one of the Anunnaki females took an egg out of the existing hominid. There's a famous cylinder scroll on display at the British Museum about this. And they then added some Anunnaki DNA to this egg, and they took out some of the genetic material from the existing hominid, added their genetic material, inserted it into her womb, and she took it to full term in 10 months. And she then gave birth to the Adamu, which means first man. The Adamu, and the Adamu was then placed in the Garden of Eden, which was located in where? Iraq. It wasn't in Africa, sorry, it was Iraq. That was home base, that was the start of civilization, was Iraq first, when it became, as far as we're concerned. Now, that's where they first touched down. They touched down in Iraq, in Mesopotamia, 450,000 years ago, mined this planet for 250,000 years, and then began the genetic modification of the existing hominid on this planet. They didn't create us. There's always here people, oh, the Anunnaki created us. No, they didn't create us. We were already here. Our cousins were here. We're now an offshoot of the cousin because we've been genetically modified. This is why we have smaller brains, smaller skulls. A lot of the skulls have been found all over the planet. Our skulls are smaller. Our brains are smaller. Our pineal gland is smaller. We have what they call junk DNA, which is not junk, it's just been disconnected. You're not connected to the universal grid like we used to be, thousands of years ago. They've disconnected us. So when people say, according to schools, that our ancestors or these existing or these ancient hominids over here before Homo sapien were just dumb cavemen. Not on my research. I think they were a lot smarter than us. Maybe not technologically, I'm talking about spiritually. Spiritually, they were more tuned to the Schumann resonant frequency of the earth, more in tune with nature. They probably used their magnetite crystals in their brain to navigate the planet and have higher levels of intuition, which we've been totally disconnected from. If you've ever seen a tsunami come inland, like the one that hit Indonesia and some of these other places, the wild animals are never caught up or swept away in the flood. Okay? Why is that? They understand they're in resonant frequency with this planet and what's happening. They can sense that and they can get to higher ground. They go to the hills or to mountains. Human beings, Homo sapiens sapien, we just stand right there and get our cameras out. Look, there's a tsunami coming. And then we just get swept away. It's crazy, but it just shows you how disconnected we are. I was having breakfast with somebody the other day and was talking about this giraffe hotel in Africa, where the giraffes are roaming around the hotel, and there's openings in the hotel walls where they put their heads in and you can feed them while you're eating your own food. And he goes, oh, that's just horrible. These giraffes should be free. They're supposed to be wild animals. That's imprisonment and torture. And then he bit into his bacon. I'm just sitting there. But the point I'm making is, I don't have nothing against me eating bacon, but what I'm saying is, do you see the disconnect that we have? We're disconnected from nature and we don't even realize it. We take everything for granted. We're totally disconnected. We don't see it. A pig is about 15% more intelligent than a dog. Yet we slaughter the pig and eat the pig, and the dog, you better not touch that or you go to prison. I'm not saying anyone has a higher value than the other one. I'm just saying, think of it, logically. It just logically would seem that if you're going to kill one of the two of them, wouldn't it make more logical sense that the pig is a higher level of sentient being than the dog, since it's a lot more intelligent? It's just we're just lost our synchronicity, and we're trying to find it again. We're trying to regain our synchronicity, trying to regain our consciousness, and I think a lot of these cosmic waves are having a direct effect on our DNA and allowing some of us to start to begin that reconnection process. And a lot of the children that are being born under this, well, if you can avoid getting vaccines, this is my personal opinion. None of my kids are vaccinated, and they all became Division I athletes, state champions in boxing. Not bragging, but it just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because that will definitely destroy them, and this is my personal opinion. Not everybody. Some of us get lucky, but autism has definitely increased. So that's one of the ways that they decide to try to dim the light of these new kids that are coming up with these special gifts. It's through medicines and injections. And it's a very dangerous thing. If you're going to have a child these days, you need to put together a birth plan that's issued and given to the hospital before the baby comes. And in that birth plan, you need to state specific things, like there's no vaccines to be given to my baby, no eye drops given to my baby. The baby should be brought directly to my chest immediately and not taken away from me for any particular reason. Do not disconnect the placenta. The placenta should stay connected. I want a lotus birth. Let all the nutrients come out of that placenta into that baby. Before you even get to the point of getting to 9 months, you should be definitely changing your diet if you haven't already. If your diet's not that great, because breastfeeding organic milk to a baby is great, but if you're eating GMOs and toxic food, you're still going to give the same thing to your baby. You might as well go buy Similac. Okay? The clothing that you put on your baby should be organic clothing. Your diaper should be organic. Okay? You shouldn't be putting Pampers or whatever they call the next brand out here now on your baby, because those things contain toxic chemicals that are designed to give different types of rashes, so that you can go then in turn and go buy rash medicine to put on the baby's bottom, which then, it's just a cycle, guys. They've got you in this loop. They've got you, it's a very well thought out system. A very well thought out system. A lot of people don't realize that fast food companies are well vested into pharmaceuticals, and pharmaceuticals are well vested into fast food companies. Why is that? It's part of the cycle. Get them on the fast food, get them hooked on it, make them sick, get them on pharmaceuticals, and they all profit from it, and they just laugh at us. They just laugh at us. So it's a system, but it's a system that's been installed for tens of thousands of years, or even more. It's really unfortunate, but we're getting to the point now where we're starting to recognize and realize it and break through. And thankfully, a lot of information like this has been left behind, because just seeing something like this and understanding how advanced you have to be, and the fact that we now can even perceive this and understand this and figure this out lets us know that we're going in the right direction consciously. We're starting to really wake up, and we're starting to really be able to put things together and understand things and put pieces of the puzzle together. And once we can do that, then now it's almost like when Enlil came back to the Garden of Eden. Enlil, not Yahweh. Yahweh's in your DNA. That's where Yahweh is, what we talked about yesterday. You are God, this divine energy, the divine force that flows through all of our bodies, that enhances and takes us to the next level. But Enlil was the one who came to the Garden of Eden. Now, when he came back to the Garden of Eden and realized that his brother Enki had told the humans, Adam and Eve, about knowledge and wisdom and who they truly were, knowledge of self, and they put on clothes and became ashamed and everything else. The apple was knowledge. It wasn't a real fruit that you pluck from a tree and bite into. It was knowledge. When he realized that they had gained a specific amount of knowledge and became to another level of sentience and realized who their true self was, he got angry, and then he banished them from the garden. Now, who was Enlil? He was also known as Satan, the Lord of Eden, in ancient texts. So now you see where you get Satan from. It's Enlil. Now, what he did was he played the big mind trick. He then fooled everybody into believing that his brother Enki was a serpent and the evil one, when it was really him. So when you read the Sumerian tablets, you begin to find out that after the Great Flood and all this happened, and they reestablished civilization, and people were multiplying on the planet in incredible numbers, if they got too loud or he got too pissed off with them for whatever reason, because they were having their own internal battles or they were just making too much noise, he would just cull them. In other words, he would just kill them off. Kill 100,000, kill 200,000. He would starve villages, just purposely dry out he would give an order to dry out their fields. This is Yahweh, but they're thinking it's the creator of the universe, but it's really just a flesh and blood person like us that puts on his pants one leg at a time. Just a little bit more knowledgeable, had more advanced technology, knew a little bit more, and because of that, we became a cargo cult. We deified them. But he tricked everybody to believing that his brother Enki was the evil one. His brother Enki actually had empathy for humans, married a human, and was banished from his own home planet because of that. And when he did the genetic modification under the order of his brother, he came up with the suggestion, but his brother put the decree in, Enlil, to do the genetic modification. He was just trying to stop the war at that time. But when he did the genetic modification, he gave us a little bit extra. He gave us, he genetically modified Homo sapiens in a way that we have the capability of surpassing even them. And then when his brother Enlil discovered this, he was irate and went crazy. He went ballistic on his brother. Because he says, how could you do this? That they outnumber us, they can become greater than us and more intelligent than us, then where do we fit in? This is one of the reasons why they didn't create, a lot of people say, why didn't they just create a lot of robots? Well, they even knew about that. AI was no good for them. They created a cybernetic organism that went on a trip with Gilgamesh. So if you read one of the oldest texts out there, the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is the true and full story of Noah, Gilgamesh was a half human, half Anunnaki. Okay, he was the son of Enki and the son of a human woman, and he was a giant, massive, strong man. There's depictions of him holding a lion with one arm up on his chest. Okay, this was a massive dude, and he goes on this journey. But they give him this R2D2 type of thing to go on this journey with him. It was artificially intelligent. And they actually had a few more of them in the medical department that they had, because they had a medical city for healing. And they had a few of these android type things there. This is in stone text, written, documented now, 6,000 to 8,000 years ago. So you just can't make this stuff up. I mean, you can't try to change the stones. You can't erase the stone and rewrite it. This really happened. But they had conversations from time to time, and they realized that these androids, if they created too many of them, could outnumber them, and then they would have no need for them. This is why they chose to genetically modify a biological robot, humans or hominids at that time, whatever the hominid in particular was, and making Homo sapiens sapient. But the good news in all of this is the fact that they actually claim and state that the current human that they have now genetically modified because of the work of the geneticist Enki, even though our lifespans have been shortened and things like that, but we have the capability of fixing it scientifically. We're in the day and age where we've already learned how to stop the telomere degradation. But because of the way that we are created, we have the capability of superseding the level of the Anunnaki, the level of these beings that came from elsewhere, spiritually and technologically. And we have all the numbers. Like I said yesterday, there's 7.5 billion people on Earth. And we are letting less than 100 people control everything we see, taste, smell, touch, everything our kids do, everything everywhere they go. We let them abduct our kids shortly after they're born and put them in these buildings to put them in the systematic structure of quote-unquote education, which is really not education at all. It's an abduction. If you go into ancient times, your kids were never abducted and taken away forcefully. Because what happens if you don't take them to school? Yo. Hi, my name is Billy Carson. I'm the president of Forbidden Knowledge. Are you looking for an amazing opportunity that you can invest in that's already generating revenue? A company that's already making money and profits right now today? Well, look no further. Forbidden Knowledge. We have our own streaming TV network. We're now approved and streaming already on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, the iOS App Store, Google Play Store, and the web. We have over 5,200 amazing shows with over 22,000 subscribers. We just reached our 1-year anniversary, and we have a phenomenal base with huge potential upside. We're looking to be 3 times this size by this time next year, and you can be a big part of that. So please review this information and join us at Forbidden Knowledge. Thank you. You are watching Forbidden Knowledge TV.